1. The figure in the mist. The woods always had a special allure for me. They reminded me of tales I'd read as a child, filled with mythical creatures, hidden treasures, and mysteries waiting to be uncovered. But that evening, the woods felt different. It wasn't just the fog, which was so dense that it felt like walking through a dream. It was something more palpable, an electric charge in the air that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I'd taken this path countless times, but the familiar trail seemed transformed. Each step felt like a journey into an unknown realm. The trees, usually so comforting in their majestic stillness, now seemed to whisper secrets amongst themselves, their branches swaying in a dance choreographed by the mist. About 10 minutes into my walk, a faint silhouette emerged from the fog. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. But as I squinted, the vague outline of a person became clearer. The figure just stood there, unmoving, like a statue. I called out, thinking it might be another walker lost in the mist, but the only reply I received was my own voice echoing back. As I continued my walk, a sinking feeling grew in the pit of my stomach. No matter which direction I took, the figure remained constant, always maintaining the same distance. It was as if we were connected by an invisible tether. I tried changing my pace, even taking a different trail, but the shadowy entity seemed to anticipate my every move. My heart began to race. The serenity of the woods now felt suffocating. Every rustle of the leaves, every creak of a branch, intensified my paranoia. And then, the worst realization hit me. I had to turn back and head home, which meant confronting the figure directly. Mustering up some courage, I decided to face the figure head-on, hoping that it was just a lost hiker or someone playing a prank. But as I approached, the figure began to dissolve into the mist, only to reappear directly in my path, closer than before. A cold chill ran down my spine. This wasn't a person. People didn't move like that. I broke into a run, the fog growing thicker with each stride, making it harder to see. My breaths came in ragged gasps as the world around me narrowed to the pounding of my heart and the soft whispers that seemed to float from the fog. Words I couldn't quite grasp, like fragments of forgotten dreams. Reaching the edge of the woods, my house loomed ahead, its lights a beacon in the oppressive darkness. I didn't stop until I was safely inside, locking the door behind me. Peeking through the curtains, I searched for the figure, but the woods were empty, the mist now a protective barrier between my world and whatever I had encountered. I tried to convince myself that it was all just my imagination, a product of the eerie weather and my overactive mind. But as I prepared for bed, a soft tap on my window made me freeze. Drawing the curtains aside, the word "soon" was written on the mist-covered pane. That night, I lay awake, listening to the sounds of the night, every creak of the house, every rustle of the wind, magnified in the silence. The events in the woods felt like a dream, but the message on the window was all too real. Morning couldn't come fast enough. With the rising sun, the mist gradually lifted, and the woods returned to their usual peaceful self. But I knew they had changed for me forever. Weeks turned into months, and the memory of that night began to fade. But every time the fog rolled in, a chill would run down my spine, and I'd remember the shadowy figure and its haunting message. The woods, once my sanctuary, now held a mystery I wasn't sure I wanted to solve. The figure never appeared again, but its presence lingered, a constant reminder that some mysteries are best left undiscovered. And so, on foggy nights, I stay indoors, listening to the whispers of the woods, wondering what awaits in the mist. 2. The midnight phone call. The pitter-patter of raindrops on the windowpane was always a comforting sound to me. It created a rhythm, a lullaby that always made my cozy apartment feel like a refuge from the world outside. That evening, with a book in hand and the soft hum of the rain, I was lost in another realm, far from the confines of reality. The sudden ring of the landline pierced the tranquility of the night. It was an unexpected sound, given that hardly anyone ever called me on it. The digital clock on my nightstand read 12:03 am. Who would be calling at this hour? Lifting the receiver, I was met with silence. Then, a faint whisper broke the quiet, raspy and unsettling. "Do you like the rain?" The voice seemed neither male nor female, just an eerie murmur in the night. Before I could reply, the line went dead. Baffled, I checked the caller ID, but it only displayed unknown. A shiver ran down my spine. Maybe it was just a wrong number, I thought, trying to shake off the unease. But then, the phone rang again. Hesitantly, I answered. The same voice, now more pronounced, said, "Look outside." My heart raced as I slowly approached the window, pulling the blinds apart with trembling hands. Across the rain-soaked street, a shadowy figure stood, phone to its ear, its features obscured by the downpour. I dropped the blinds and retreated, locking all the doors and turning off the lights. The safety of my apartment felt compromised. Every ring of the phone became a sinister reminder of the watcher outside. With each call, the voice delivered cryptic phrases. The rain hides secrets. Water has memories. Always ending with a haunting refrain. Soon, you'll understand. Hours seemed like days. I sat in the dark, waiting for dawn. The phone unplugged to silence the tormenting calls. The rain continued its relentless rhythm, but it no longer felt soothing. Instead, it felt like a barrier, trapping me with my fears. Morning finally broke. The rain reduced to a drizzle. Exhausted and weary, I approached the window. The figure was gone. With some trepidation, I opened my front door. There on the doormat lay a broken umbrella, its fabric torn, wires exposed. Tied to its handle was a note. For the next rainy night. Days turned into weeks, and the events of that night became a blur. A bad dream fading in the light of day. But the broken umbrella and the enigmatic note served as tangible reminders. I changed my number and even considered moving. But a part of me needed to understand, to unravel the mystery. The rainy season brought its share of storms, but no midnight calls, no shadowy figures. I began to let my guard down, attributing the events to some elaborate prank, or a figment of my overwrought imagination. But one evening, as another storm raged outside, a knock echoed through my apartment. Hesitating, I peered through the peephole. A figure stood there, obscured by the rain, holding an umbrella. My heart skipped a beat. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door. Before me stood an elderly woman, her face lined with years of wisdom and sorrow. She looked familiar, and then it hit me. She was my childhood neighbor, Mrs. Gray, whom I hadn't seen in years. She smiled, her eyes holding a hint of sadness. "I'm sorry for the fright I gave you that night. I used to call you during storms when you were a child, remember? You loved the rain, just like my late husband. That night, I just wanted to reconnect. But I realize now how it must have seemed. I was taken aback, memories flooding back. The calls, the whispers, all made sense now. We chatted, reminiscing about the past, the rain serving once again as a comforting backdrop. The midnight phone call, which had once filled me with dread, became a poignant reminder of the connections we sometimes forget, of memories washed away by time, only to resurface with the rain. 3. The Forgotten Room. The charm of the old Victorian house was undeniable. Its towering spires, intricate woodwork, and sprawling gardens spoke of an era long gone. However, as with all old homes, it held secrets, tales whispered from one brick to another, from one creaky floorboard to the next. I was enchanted the moment I stepped in, feeling the weight of its history, ready to make it my own. During the first few days, I took to exploring every nook and cranny. Most rooms told expected tales, memories of laughter, celebrations, and perhaps the occasional heartbreak. But then, in the shadowy recesses of the basement, I stumbled upon a door that was not on any floor plan, locked and forgotten. Driven by curiosity, I managed to pry it open. The room inside was a time capsule. Faded wallpapers adorned the walls, covered in a mosaic of children's drawings, scenes of play, families, and oddly, a lone figure that seemed out of place in the otherwise joyful sketches. In the center of the room stood an old rocking chair, its paint chipped, and a doll with glassy eyes, and a fraying dress lay next to it, clutching a note. "She doesn't like to be alone." The room was unsettling, to say the least. But rather than fear, I felt a profound sadness. It was as if the very walls mourned a loss, a forgotten tale of a child who once sought solace here. Nightfall in the house brought its own symphony of sounds, wood settling, wind whispering through the eaves. But that night, as I tried to sleep, a new sound emerged from the depths of the house, a soft lullaby, drifting up from the basement. My initial skepticism turned to disbelief as I followed the sound to the forgotten room. The rocking chair moved gently back and forth, as if an unseen hand rocked it, and the doll, previously on the floor, now sat upon it. Over the next few nights, the phenomena grew. Whispers of children's laughter echoed through the halls. The drawings on the wall seemed to shift and change, always returning to the solitary figure, now appearing more prominent, more insistent. Determined to understand, I delved into the house's history. The previous owners were a tight-lipped bunch, but the town's archives revealed a tragic tale. Decades ago, a young girl named Clara lived in the house, an introverted child. She often felt overshadowed by her boisterous siblings. The basement room became her refuge, where her imagination ran wild, and her drawings came to life on the walls. One winter, Clara fell ill and was confined to her room. By spring, she was gone, but her spirit, it seemed, lingered, longing for recognition. One stormy night, with the wind howling outside and the house groaning in response, I was drawn to the basement by an overpowering urge. The room was cold, the air thick with anticipation. Taking a deep breath, I addressed the empty room. "Clara, I see you. You're not forgotten." A palpable shift occurred. The room, which had always felt oppressive, now seemed lighter. The drawings on the wall morphed one last time, showing Clara, not alone, but hand in hand with her family, smiling. The nocturnal disturbances ceased. But every now and then, when the house was quiet, and the world outside was still, I hear the faintest lullaby. A soft thank you from a child once lost, now found. In time, the forgotten room became my sanctuary, a place of peace and reflection, where the past and present intertwined, reminding me that every corner, every brick, every creaky floorboard of the old Victorian house had a story to tell, waiting for someone to listen. 4. The abandoned playground. Childhood memories have a peculiar way of sticking with us, no matter how many years pass. For me, the old playground at the edge of town was one such memory, a place of laughter, scraped knees, and sun-drenched afternoons. But as with all things, time had taken its toll, and the playground of my memories now lay abandoned, nature reclaiming its dominion. On a whim, I decided to revisit it. The rusty gates creaked in protest as I pushed them open, stepping into a world where time seemed to have stopped. The once vibrant slides and swings were now covered in a patina of rust and moss. The merry-go-round, where we'd spent countless hours, stood still, a silent testament to the joy it once witnessed. Walking through the playground, memories washed over me, echoes of laughter, fleeting shadows of children running, the world a blur of motion and color. But then, an eerie silence descended, punctuated only by the distant sound of children laughing. I looked around, trying to locate the source, but the playground was deserted. Drawn to the sound, I found an old swing moving gently, as if someone had just vacated it. The air grew colder, and the laughter, which was once a distant echo, now seemed to envelop the playground. The other swings began to move in unison. The merry-go-round started its ghostly rotation, and I felt an unseen presence, a tug at my sleeve, pulling me towards the slide. Panic set in, and I ran, not daring to look back until I reached the safety of the main road. From a distance, the playground seemed to come alive, shadowy figures of children playing, their laughter now a haunting lullaby. Confused and shaken, I shared my experience with a local cafe owner. His face turned ashen as he relayed a tale from decades ago. A school bus, filled with children returning from a field trip, had met with a tragic accident near the playground. Many young souls were lost that day, their spirits, it was rumored, forever bound to the playground, reliving their moments of joy. The story weighed heavily on my heart. The playground, which once symbolized carefree days, now held a poignant reminder of lives cut short, dreams unfulfilled. I felt a compelling need to honor those lost souls, to give them a sense of peace. Over the next few weeks, with the help of the townsfolk, we restored the playground. Fresh paint covered the rust. New swings were installed, and laughter, real laughter, once again echoed through the air. Every evening, as the sun set, I'd light a candle by the entrance, a beacon for lost souls, guiding them home. One particular evening, as twilight cast long shadows, and the candle flickered in the gentle breeze, I felt a familiar tug at my sleeve. Turning around, I saw a little girl, no older than 10, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice a soft breeze, before vanishing into the other. The playground, once a place of fear, became a bridge between two worlds, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and a reminder that even in the face of tragedy, hope endures. Every year, on the anniversary of the accident, the townsfolk gather at the playground. Children play, families picnic, and as the day turns to night, a chorus of ethereal laughter joins in, a harmonious blend of the past and the present, a celebration of life, both lost and found. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the Dark Tales Unleashed channel for more such content.